science noises. Wee-oo, 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 wee-oo.
Everybody, and welcome to this first episode of a show we're calling Who is My Doctor?
Who is my doctor?
I guess we'll find out together. That's sort of what this show is about, actually. I have seen most of Doctor Who. It's my favorite show. The only ones I haven't seen are like some classic Who and some of the brandest, newest stuff. So I thought that it's my favorite show, and my partner, Cassie here, has never heard, doesn't know.
I have not heard a Doctor Who. What's it sound like?
My name is Zach Hurst. I will be your host for this show, and I know most things about Doctor Who, whereas my partner,
Cassie Shima, I know nothing.
Let's be a little more specific. What do you know about Doctor Who, if anything at all?
David Tennant, Matt Smith, scarf?
You know that they're in it.
And a box.
Okay.
And the one redhead that was in The Office. Yes, I'm blanking. I know her name.
Now we've looped the podcast around where I know nothing about The Office.
Yeah, no. Yeah, the one redhead that I think is in. It might be with the 12th or the 13th Doctor. She's the she's his buddy. But
we'll get to that.
The season where Steve Carell left, they brought in a bunch of different people to come in and kind of fill in the empty hole, and she was one of the people that was
interesting because that's not
as a character.
Okay, interesting. Good to know. I'm sure we'll get more on that as we get into it.
A little bit more specific, yes.
But I realized, hey, I have this interesting idea where I know a lot about something and you know very little, and I'm a 30-something white guy with a beard and I don't have a podcast. Mm-hmm. I've got to correct this great injustice in the world, and now we're here for this show called Who is My Doctor?
Which is my doctor?
A statement for me and a question for you.
Yup.
So we're going to watch. We're going to go through every episode of Doctor Who, at least the revived series. We may
every episode.
Yes,
that's a lot.
It is a lot, and it's still going.
That is at least 3 bookshelves full of DVDs full of episodes.
Well, to be clear, I'm talking about the revived series. We're not going to necessarily watch the classic stuff unless you seem really interested. That is not the place for modern TV watchers to start. There's some very good stuff in there, but it's not necessarily the best introduction for people to have to it. So we might get to it if you're really interested, because it does have a lot of your favorite 70s cheese to it. It's got guys in rubber suits, and this the science in it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
No, which is my favorite cheese. I think that we'll touch up on it a little later, but yeah, my upbringing is almost exclusively Sid and Marty Krofft Saturday morning specials.
But something went wrong deep inside, and they can't get off of this crazy ride. Please, someone help us. Oh, where are we going in the sauce?
So if it's a man in a suit made out of air conditioning ducts and painted cardboard, and it's supposed to be a robot, that's my jam, man.
Oh, that may be where we start if we go back to the classic Doctor Who episode, or classic Doctor Who serial, Robot, which is about a guy dressed up like a robot.
Hot diggity dog. Boy, oh boy, was I not expecting that.
So we're going to start watching this here, just to give you an idea of what you might have thought had you watched this.
Yes. Set the scene for me. What is the year?
So the year is 2005.
Fun.
This is the year the 4th Harry Potter movie came out.
Excellent. I believe I was in the 4th grade because I had the fabulous fortune of every Harry Potter movie that came out correlated with the grade I was in school.
Interesting.
Yes, a fun fact about me.
The show stopped airing in 1989.
Okay.
But the classic show ran unbroken for I believe it was 26 years. It may have been longer. But it ran until 1989. It never was officially canceled. They just stopped making it, partly because the producers at the BBC didn't like the show, but the show was too popular to get rid of.
So it sounds like to me that the BBC just kind of ghosted one of its own shows.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
And the only thing that had happened in the interim between 1989 and 2005, a period of 16 years, was they would do, and every year, maybe not every year, but every so often they would have some sort of like little charity special. Sometimes they were comedic, sometimes they were meant to feel like a new episode of the show.
Aww.
Most of them aren't very good. And also, for a brief period, they tried to pick up the show here in America and continue it. And that series lasted for exactly one TV movie.
Interesting.
But now it's 2005.
Yes.
And you get to see a new Doctor Who for the first time in 16 years, or in your case, the first time since you've been alive.
Yes. This is... I'm willfully choosing to watch this over Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
Yeah?
Revenge of the Sith was the same year.
Got that right. Heck yeah. Willfully choosing to watch that over Ewan McGregor, and his name isn't Hans Christian Andersen. That's an author. Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen, yes.
Thank you.
Again, 16-year gap. You don't know anything about Doctor Who other than the fact that it's an old show your parents probably liked. In fact, I would assume your dad would have really liked it.
Maybe. My dad was way more into things that had the word star in it. Like Star Wars, Stargate, Battlestar Galactica, Star Trek. I think that's where the list ends.
But otherwise, you don't know anything about the show. You know, like, two of the actors that have been in it.
Truthfully, if like a bit jokes out of the room, bits aside, I know that it is immensely popular based off of the number of doctors I see at conventions. Because for anybody who doesn't know, back in ye olden times prior to the year of our Lord 2020, I would go to conventions a lot and cosplay. Once a day, if I was there for 3 days, at least once a day, I would see a Dalek. That's the robot, right?
A Dalek?
A Dalek. Is that one of the robots?
They're called Daleks. But
Dalek, got it.
And Dalek is one of the monsters in Doctor Who. I can't read your mind and picture if that's the one we're talking about.
It's the like coppery looking one that's got a bunch of like studs on it.
Studs on it?
Yeah, it just kind of like rolls around and swivels.
Let's pin that thought, because we're coming up later on an episode called Dalek, and I'll let you describe one to me then.
Fabulous. But yeah, at least once a day there is a doctor, and they always have the Doctor Who mystery boxes at those big stands where you pay lots of money and you get crap, but it's fun. And so I know that there's a lot of panache around it, and nobody has ever gate-kept it from me, which is fantastic. I just don't care.
It was just never something that was really like
no, and I do hope that that does change, and that I do at least gain a little bit of an appreciation for it, for sure. I will say though, I am gonna be a little bit extra skeptical because I think that's funny, but I'm not gonna like something just because I know that you really like it. No, like that's not my vibe, brother. That's not what we're about here in this podcast.
Like, worst case, if you end up hating it, we end up having really interesting conversations about it. So we'll see where this goes. And the great thing about it is, even if you end up hating a chunk of it, give it a couple seasons, it's a totally different experience.
Well, yeah, because it's different. It's different people.
Yeah, it's
different people and different interpretations.
Different showrunners, different crews, different story. That's part of why I like it so much, is that they all feel cohesive without necessarily feeling repetitive.
Well, because they're cohesive in they all share the same concept.
Yes.
Conceptually, they're all the same, but in execution, every season, every
So
doctor,
speaking
every
of
person
concept,
different.
let's root that then. What can you just in like one or two sentences describe for me what you think the central premise of Doctor Who is, based entirely off of what little cultural osmosis you have been given?
Okay. Hold on. Let me think. Let me ruminate. In a world much like ours, there is some person, some ball of energy that every so often assumes a human form to come in and take care of the things that are not of this earth world. Period, ding dong, the end.
All right. So you're saying that Doctor Who is this like energy source that takes a human form and
If you're really boiling it down, Doctor Who is not a person. I don't think that they get reborn necessarily. I do think that it is
you think it's like a title that gets passed on?
like a soul,
Okay.
sort of say. But so there's a book that came out a couple years ago called Every Day. I'm forgetting the author of it right now, but the premise of the book is that there is a person who every day wakes up in the body of a different,
It's like Quantum Leap.
like a different living person, but they wake up having all of the memories of every other person that they were before. So I imagine that Doctor Who is not unlike that.
Okay.
Where it's every season, every couple years, decades, however time works in that show, it is this same person, but different person, if that makes any ounce of sense.
Okay. Well, I want you to hold on to that as we watch through, just to see how you feel it compares. I'm not going to spoil any of it for you. I don't want, and I know there are some people who are really intense Doctor Who fans that are probably really mad that I'm not jumping in and like telling you about it, but I want that. But that's what the experience of this is. I want it to be revealed to her, and I can reveal maybe more pertinent information as it comes along that's not given in the episode itself. So let's do one last guessing game here. The very first episode of this this new revived Doctor Who series
2005.
It's called 2005. It's called Rose.
Okay.
Just that one word, Rose.
So that's a person.
It could be like I'm not going to tell you what it is.
But as a Steven Universe fan, Rose is heavy, okay? Is this somebody's mom? Is this somebody's like alter ego? Is this the Doctor Who's buddy? Doctor Who's special friend?
So why don't I let you guess? You tell me what you think.
Special friend. That's my vote.
You think Rose is a special
Yes.
is the Doctor's special friend?
I do not think it has anything to do with the flower. No, I'm not wrong. It has nothing to do with the flower. It is a person.
All right. Well, we will find out together if she is, one, correct about the show's premise, and two, correct if Rose is a person, here after this quick break where we don't have ads, so I'll just say that I love you.
No, you don't. You don't know these people. Nobody's listening.
And we are back from Doctor Who, not season 1, series 1, episode 1.
Series 1.
I don't know if this is
specific.
I've never been able to confirm if it's called series 1 because that's a new UK formatting where they don't use seasons, or because they want to differentiate it from Classic Who, because Classic Who is called season 1. But that's all the way back at the black and white days in the 60s.
Ye old black and white days.
Alrighty, so let's just...
Hachi machi.
Well,
Where do we start? I was correct. Rose is a person, not a flower.
Yes, I was gonna just ask in general, what was just general overall positive, negative vibe? How do you feel about it?
I absolutely do not like the mannequins.
So
Absolutely No.
So they didn't actually say their name in this one. The mannequins are an alien species called the Autons.
Even worse.
They are controlled by the Nestine consciousness, as you saw, but they have
Disgusting.
they are a classic villain from back in the Third Doctor's era. So it was in I think that was 1971. Right? It was either 70 or 71.
So these bitches have happened before?
They've only happened twice before. They haven't been on TV since 1971.
They will never be on TV again.
Well, let's start at the top then. Let's get what was your first thought specifically about the Doctor Who theme? Because it's your first time really hearing that.
My only note is space. So big. Which I suppose to translate from Cassie notes is it was just when I imagine if you were to sit a monkey down at a computer and say, "Here, monkey, what do you know of space? Make a sound." And it just kind of slapped on the keyboard and made something that sounded like music. That is what I think that this is.
You're specifically talking about the down, like that.
It was just so very Tomorrowland, like just hyper, like neo-futurism.
Yeah, I mean, it was because what you
Because
heard.
it sounds. I'd imagine that even now, like even I could be wrong. I probably am. I'd imagine though that even like current Doctor Who sounds not far off from this.
Well, that's the thing is that theme has always stayed. That has been the theme song since the 1960s.
Correct. Yes.
But it used to basically be played by, I think it was like an electric piano and a theremin, and now it's Murray Gold, and he's got an orchestra with him, so he's got more.
I was confused at that. There didn't really seem to be any kind of like jingle. Like there wasn't any clear hook. It just felt very nebulous.
There isn't a lot of that right away. I will tell you that it does get more of that as it goes, and I think part of that is Murray Gold, he's the composer for the music
now, or has he always been the composer?
He's the composer for the majority of the new series. He's not always been the composer, but he was the composer up until the 13th Doctor started.
13th is how far away from where we are now?
It is several years. So we're talking, I think it was maybe 14 to 15 years of the show.
Okay.
Before he, handed the reins off to somebody else. And I say that because not every year was a season, so I can't keep track of the math perfectly in my head of when he left.
So just for clarification, this Doctor, this is not considered the first Doctor.
No, this is the 9th Doctor.
Okay, that makes way more sense.
Yes, it is. Yes, he is the same Doctor as the Doctors were in all the show from the 60s to 89. He's also the same Doctor that was in the TV movie that I mentioned. They kept him in the canon despite him only getting like an hour of screen time. We'll probably get to that. There's a point where we might get to some of him. Just because I think there's some interesting things for him. I also really like the visual for, like, the thing that the visuals for this era of the show's intro are really, like, simple but effective.
I'll use the same term that I used before. Very nebulous, but I think that's kind of the point.
Yes.
It's not planets, it's not specific stars or moons. It's just if you were to make an AI generator barf out space, that's what it looks like.
Well, that's sort of a way of putting it, because what you're seeing isn't really space. At the end of the episode, he tells you that it travels in both space and time, and so what you're seeing there in the beginning is the TARDIS traveling through that vortex of space and time.
So it's kind of like a black hole almost.
Yeah, more sort of. That's sort of why it looks like. I imagine that is why it sort of looks like this warped light effect.
It looks like a screensaver from the early 2000s.
Not wrong.
Oh, what was that one thing? I know that I had it on my E-Machines computer, where when you were listening to music, you could, like, press a button. not a vibe maker, but that's basically what it was. But yeah, it was just like, here's nebulous shapes and sounds and motions and textures for you to vibe out to with your music. That's what it reminded me of.
Nice.
I need to stop saying the word nebulous. That's it. Those three, we're done.
Why do you keep bringing up nebulas in this show? We're space travel.
No reason.
So you were correct. Rose is the name of this doctor's companion, Rose Tyler.
So she's the companion then for the rest of this series. Let's decide now. Series, season, or section?
Well, here's the interesting thing. Doctors will leave and companions will leave, and it is sometimes at the same time, but not all the time. So the answer is Rose Tyler will be the doctor's companion for a time.
Ugh. So stupid. Okay. Okay. I'm on board.
Yeah.
Sure. Fuck it.
And she's doing a very like basic 19-year-old girl thing.
Oh my god, it's like she's fine.
Yeah.
And that's all I could say is just not forgettable necessarily, just because like there was a point at the very end of the episode where she swings in on a chain and she references winning the bronze for gymnastics or something like that.
When she was under 7. Like it's partly a joke. She won the bronze medal when she was a child, a literal child.
And so there was a part that's like, okay, cool, we're establishing character, but beyond that, all I know is that she's generally kind of curious and just a little stubborn.
Well, here's the funny thing also is that she at the time was not really known as an actress. She was a pop singer in the UK.
Okay, cool. She did give me very vague Hilary Duff vibes.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Like Hilary Duff meets oh my god, Sarah Michelle Gellar? Yes, that's the person.
Okay, that's an interesting pairing. I don't disagree. But she's just, working in a shop. She has to take some money. She has to take the lottery money down to her boss, and then
I did appreciate the fact that, like, from what you said, this show Futurama itself, where it was gone for a while, and then people didn't know if it was coming back or not, and then it came back.
Yeah.
And I imagine people were thrilled. But what I did like is the very beginning it does set the tone of here goes the TARDIS flying itself through space and time. But now we're looking at just a girl in her very colorful, bright bedroom, just living her life, doing her job, spending time with her boyfriend. It did set and establish a sense of like security and familiarity.
Yeah.
So it did feel very much like the producers knew we have people that are already going to be invested in the show because of the history prior to. But this is also our way of roping in people that might not know and might not care. We're going to give them somebody they can relate to.
Yeah, you've got this, like she's not given a whole lot of, I mean, she does have some character to her, but she's not made to be so specific right away.
She's not a archetypal, like,
yes.
She doesn't have any defining. She's not a goth, she's not preppy, she's not anything. She just kind of is.
Yeah, she's average.
She's painstakingly normal.
Yes. And then she has to go down into the basement where
things get weird.
I enjoy all the little like mid 2000s horror TV spooky noises.
Oh, those are my favorite.
Just the little stings of piano or string.
Can I ask us to get a keyboard where we can program those sounds for me to carry around and just play like a anytime things are a little scary?
Well, speaking of a little scary, I'm remembering when they walked in, you had a reaction to just seeing a room full of mannequins.
It's the fact that the mannequins had such thick necks. I went, there's a person inside of that. There is no way that these won't move because I know how mannequins should look, and that is not how they look.
I just remember you being like, oh no, are these mannequins going to move? And I had to sit here.
It was the specificity of the thick necks and the beefy hands. And I went, there are actual human hands in those gloves. In my notes, I wrote big nope. Thick
Big
mannequin with 3 C's.
Well, she does manage to get away from them when a mysterious man in a leather jacket arrives.
Which I wasn't expecting the leather jacket. Because from what I understand of Doctor, a look that I've become very familiar with is like a very long coat and a scarf and a bow tie.
Yeah, I mean, most doctors are generally pretty
But it's
colorful.
It's the long coat that is always the image that sticks with me.
Which is interesting because there's really only a couple of doctors that do that. It's really just 4 and 7 were like the historical doctors that did that. But 4 and 7 are 2 of the most popular ones. Mm-hmm. I could show you their outfits, but we might watch those at some point, and we'll go with that.
We'll see.
But for now, yeah, it gives off a very different air. Like if you're a fan, he's giving off a very different vibe from past doctors.
It felt very much more modern because long coat, scarf, bow tie is very like timeless. Those are very timeless looks. Mm-hmm. And even the leather jacket, you can argue, is also pretty timeless because that is a look that you can wear in the 1950s. That's a look that you can wear in 2005, and you don't look like you stick out of a crowd too much.
Yeah, it looks like he's almost trying to be, someone that, because, I think classically, at least what you've seen, is doctors sort of make a point of themselves. Like, yeah, they're doing timeless looks, but it's also very like, I am dressed in a way that draws attention, and this is not that.
I'm quirky.
Yeah.
Look at my long scarf and my funny little hat. Look at my cool bow tie. I'm not like the other girls. I'm like
I have a TARDIS.
I have my TARDIS is a time car. It's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside.
Yeah, he
like a Kia Soul.
He manages to get Rose out of the building, and then proceeds to blow that building up.
Blow the entire building to smithereens, baby. Ooh-wee. And, like, does not get caught somehow?
Yeah,
He just kind of disappears?
That's just kind of what the Doctor does. I mean, his mode of travel does literally vanish.
Well, yeah, but it takes it a couple seconds.
Yeah, but no one's going to run into it. No one's going to know a building's exploding until after it's exploded.
Does the TARDIS... Can it explode? If it's near an explosion, can the TARDIS explode? Or is that just like an optical illusion and it's actually like a big, beefy metal ship? Do you ever see the TARDIS in its natural form?
There's a funny story about that. I don't think this is necessarily a spoiler. So he mentions in the episode that it's a box from the 1950s. It's a disguise.
It's a telephone box from the 1950s. It's a disguise.
Which sounds stupid. It sounds like it's a disguise. That sounds stupid. So the reason why is the TARDIS, as it was originally envisioned, would change shape to match whatever. It would change shape to match whatever setting it was going into.
Uh-huh.
TARDISes are meant to have what's called a chameleon circuit, where it is meant to match the surroundings, and so when it dropped into the 1960s and there were police boxes everywhere, that was meant to be, this is a very casual thing that no one's going to pay too much attention to. But it became so iconic to the show, they decided that the chameleon circuit's broken. And so now it's stuck permanently looking like a police box. There have been a few times in the history where they have like tried to quote unquote fix it and it looks like something else. One time it looked like a pipe organ.
Very inconspicuous.
Yeah, especially because I think the pipe organ just landed in someone's driveway, which is particularly funny.
Very not noticeable.
Yeah.
Good job, Doctor.
And now it's sort of weird because the police boxes were a pretty common thing, but now they're just the TARDIS. Like they've evolved. It's now evolved to the point that this public service is now an iconic sci-fi thing.
Yeah, because I always saw that and thought, oh, what a silly looking phone booth.
That's kind of what it was. Police call box was if you could get into it and call the police if you needed someone, but also police could arrest someone and keep them in the box.
Oh my god. That's so good.
Yeah, this is what they did before, like, cars are super prevalent and, police walked around town.
You're on timeout. Get in the box.
Get in the box.
Get in the box.
Yeah, it was like
You gotta wait for your ride.
Yeah, it was a public service that has now become,
obsolete.
Yeah, that became obsolete in real life and has instead lived this life as effectively like a Star Trek ship.
That's funny.
After they manage to escape, Rose heads home, and everyone is briefly concerned for her well-being. But it seems, both her mom and her boyfriend seem concerned in very strange ways.
The overall vibe is that they're just kind of ambivalent.
Yeah, they're a little self-centered.
Her mom's not a narcissist.
Yeah,
but when her number one concern is you can get money for this.
Yeah, it feels a little.
Which yes, but also you should be slightly more concerned about your daughter. Likewise, her boyfriend Mickey's just like, oh yeah, let's grab a drink. And she immediately goes, there's a game on, isn't there?
Sniffs that out immediately.
Good for her for knowing that, he can't schmooze his way into doing something that is disguised to be a kind gesture towards her.
Yeah.
Which also, it's kind of shitty, but whatever. It's 2005. I was in the 4th grade.
Yeah.
I was painting styrofoam to look like a California mission, so what do I know?
The next morning, the doctor arrives.
The doctor, is he autistic?
I don't know that they would ever spell that out so specifically.
Big autistic vibe.
He definitely... Christopher Eccleston's version of the doctor really likes kind of being a little shithead.
Because
he answers a lot of things in one word, a lot of questions with one word, yeses or nos.
The energy I got is that he's just better than everyone.
He generally has the vibe of someone who is the smartest man in the room and is kind of bored by that.
Because if you want the dynamic of him and Rose to work, you do need somebody who dumped all their stats into intelligence and then somebody else who dumped all their stats into charisma. Yeah,
that's sort of what happened. But I really like a lot of his. Like when he comes in and the mom and her mom is like,
I'm in my dressing gown.
Yes, you are.
There's a strange man in my bedroom.
Yes, there is.
Where anything could happen.
No.
He walks away.
I just like yes, there is. Yes, I am. Nope.
It just noped right out of that
Very
situation.
matter of fact, which...
And then he walks around and just starts picking up books and reading them immediately. He picked up a book and just read all of it. Goes, sad ending.
There was a book that came out when I was in the 4th grade. Completely unrelated, but it just reminded me of it. It was called Evermore. And this girl is psychic and she can just touch books and know exactly what happens in it. And there was just a little part of me that went, oh my God, he's psychic. Which I know he's not, but it had that same...
Yeah, there's a lot of he's so smart he can just kind of read people at a glance. When he picks up the magazine, it's oh, that won't last. He's gay and she's an alien.
Which I also like that did establish cool, there are aliens in... They're just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, there's kind of around.
Because I think I said that in the beginning. He's an alien.
You had mentioned unearthly things. You had not been specific about.
I think my vagueness can be interpreted as specificity at this point.
So I would agree. I would think that when you say unearthly things,
yeah, 2 points. I'm keeping a tally. How many times I'm right?
I mean, you don't know all of what the doctor's up to, so we'll have to put a pin in that.
No,
for later.
but I do know that I was correct, not of this world, and that Rose was a person.
Yes.
2 points, baby. Keep a tally.
And then as the doctor walks away with this plastic mannequin arm, Rose basically tries to trace him down for information, and all he can really seem to describe himself as is as a person that can feel the spinning of the earth.
I can feel it. turn of the earth. The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me, clinging to the skin of this tiny little world, and if we let go, that's who I am.
Yeah, that bothered me just a little bit.
In what way?
I don't know. There was a kid in my school into 4th grade. No, but there was a kid in my school that I do think was a fan of Doctor Who because he was also kind of pompous and was like, I can feel the earth moving beneath my feet. And because me, mentally ill but didn't know, it's like, yeah, I can also feel the world moving underneath my feet when I spin around really fast.
The earth move under my feet.
Yeah, no, I would spin around really fast and be like, yeah, now I can feel the earth moving, but it's just
you spinning.
You know what? I thought I was doing something really cool and really scientific. Okay.
So after the Doctor seems to walk into his blue box and disappears, she decides to start looking up information about the Doctor and finds a man named Clive, who
great name.
Yeah, who has been collecting.
That's the name of a weirdo.
Who has been collecting these images of the Doctor from throughout history. He was there for the Kennedy assassination.
A super real, authentic looking picture of the Kennedy assassination.
The pictures where he's all for some reason making exactly the same pose.
I did like the little sketch though. I thought that one was cute.
Oh yeah, before the Krakatoa picture.
Yeah.
Where he was mysteriously. I'm a little confused as to why no one pointed out. Is he wearing a leather jacket in this picture from Krakatoa?
Yes.
Because it felt like that was something obvious that should have been pointed out, but they were like, it's weird that he looks the same.
Oh, he's just
like that dude's wearing a mid-2000s leather jacket. What are we talking about?
I didn't see his shoes, but I'm sure that they were also mid-2000s looking shoes.
Meanwhile, while they're dealing with their discoveries of the images of this Doctor throughout history, Rose's boyfriend Mickey was waiting in the car outside and chooses to investigate a trash can.
He doesn't choose to investigate a trash can. A trash can chooses to approach him, which all I could think about is there's trash. All I could think about is there's just little family raccoons in there.
It's just kind of what it looks like. Just like there's something in it that's like rattling. Yeah. But then he gets his hands stuck in it.
Now, that was the one thing that I was like, oh, that actually looks kind of cool. Because at some points it did look practical. And then other points it just kind of looked like a trash can in Crash Bandicoot.
A little, yeah, it was
a little bendy, a little springy.
A little too rubbery. Like the lighting on it wasn't quite up to snuff.
Again, TV 2000s, it looks fine.
That was all about budget. It wasn't about, like...
It gets the point across,
yes.
So I can... Any of these types of things where it just looks a little goofy, except for the thick mannequins, I can forgive.
Well, speaking of thick mannequins, after Mickey wrestles with the trash can for a little bit, he gets swallowed up. He gets swallowed up and burped out. And then he's replaced with a classic zinger. Yeah, you get a classic 2005 bit of someone burping.
Of a big old monster having a little snack and then giving out a big old burp. Original comedy right there, folks.
So after that, when Rose gets back to the car, Mickey is in there, but he is looking a little goofy.
Him have so much Maybelline mousse, Dream Matte Mousse foundation on. Maybe it was CoverGirl. I ate that shit up.
And that foundation was not his shade. He was looking pale.
It was looking a little plasticky. It was weird. I did also like the Crayola marker hairline.
Yeah.
So choice. I mean, but it did serve its purpose of making him look not like a human anymore.
You immediately can tell. Like the only issue with it is you can so immediately tell. It's a little concerning that Rose can't immediately tell.
She's distracted.
Just when he goes pizza, or when he starts driving his car along the road in a big zigzag fashion.
It's a good thing that there is nobody else on that road, though.
Rose and Mickey head off to have dinner together, where the Doctor sneaks in as a waiter offering them champagne
that they did not order.
That they were very adamant they did not order. And then he pops a cork into Mickey's face.
And then he spits it
directly
out.
into his forehead. It goes bring, and he spits it out.
I do appreciate, though, that at that moment, people did kind of start taking notice and, like, started to freak out. Because I hate when shows do that, where something very weird is happening. Because I'm in a restaurant, I see something weird happen, I'm not paying attention to my party, I'm looking at the weird thing. So I'm really glad that this one let everybody freak out about the weird thing.
And they have to run away as Mickey decides to make his hands into big pizza paddles and just start smacking stuff away. They do lock a door on him to keep him from getting to him, but they don't really seem to have anywhere to go, though. And so they walk into the police box that we mentioned earlier, the TARDIS, time and relative dimension in space. What did you think about when you first saw the TARDIS interior? Did you have a reaction to that?
In my mind, I feel like I've seen pictures of it. I don't remember it looking that way. Does the interior of the TARDIS also change?
It does.
Okay, cool. Because I was like, this looks way more like futuristic ancient in a way that I can't quite describe. I did like the grates on the floor with the white lights blaring through them. It was very, very indicative of the time. Because I can name 3 shows right now that had the same lighting scheme.
Yes, the TARDIS has changed interiors. This isn't even what the TARDIS looked like back then. The TARDIS has changed appearances many times. And it will change again. It doesn't change with every Doctor. I take that back. It doesn't change drastically with every Doctor. Some Doctors will change it a little bit, but for the most part, the TARDIS changes with showrunner more than anything.
You know what? Fair.
The thing that strikes me about it is that it feels mostly empty.
Yeah, that was my biggest takeaways. There was lots of textures on the wall, but it was the same very repetitive, like, not trapezoid, like octagon sort of shape. Just repeated all around.
The show at one point describes them as the round things.
Gotcha. So lots of the round things.
Lots of the round things.
But yeah, it just... I feel like when Rose walks in at the first time, there's all of this like green and blue light that's shining around, and then when she actually walks in, it's just very beige.
It's very, I don't know that I'd call it beige, but it feels very bronze. It's a very orange tint. And
there isn't any of that blue and green aside from whatever the unit is in the very middle of
the console itself
the space.
in the
Yes.
center. Yeah, that's
which
where
is
all the light
also
seems to come from.
a bit like ambiguous as to what that is, and I'm sure that we'll get more explanation later on about the details of the console, but just kind of looked like it was doing beeps and boops, and that was about it.
There are episodes where it comes up, and we'll dive into a little bit more as that comes up. But then the TARDIS drops them off. Despite only having what appear to be some rumbles, it does appear it has transported to another part of London, where Rose interrogates the Doctor for a little bit of information. And one of my favorite lines that Christopher Eccleston ever has to say is when Rose asks him why he sounds like he's from the North.
Lots of planets have a north.
Which raises 2 questions, one of which being, what planets don't have a north? What did they have?
Maybe they're flat.
And 2, does that mean on all planets that have a north, that's what people sound like?
Flat planet don't have north.
Just one.
Only have up and down.
Eventually they do find flat Earth.
Flat Earth is real, dude.
It's out there somewhere. I want to believe.
The truth is out there. Maybe.
So they realize that in the explanation the Doctor's talking about the nesting consciousness and how it's sort of ejecting its will out into the plastic of the Earth. But it has to be using some dish. And Rose points out that it's probably the big Ferris wheel called the London Eye right behind him.
The only thing that really bugs me about the, like, plastic is an inorganic matter. And I was just having kind of a hard time wrapping my head around inorganic matter being able to transmit any kind of consciousness, but that's extra nitpicky.
Yeah, it's also, this is very, like, if you're gonna get into if you got to accept that Doctor Who has science that doesn't make sense.
It's just a little silly.
It is a little
It's
silly.
just a little silly. Yum.
Well, they follow this lead under the London Eye, and the Doctor tries to negotiate with the Nestine consciousness. But
and then here come the thick boy mannequins.
them thick boys come up to put him in a full Nelson.
And then everything just kind of stops. And that was what bothered me slightly. Is I know that there was shit happening up on the surface with the gun mannequins, which, hey, gang, did you know that all mannequins are equipped with guns in their hands?
Yeah, they're handguns.
Yeah, mannequins have security guns built into their fingers.
Well, I believe that is the consciousness. If the consciousness can pilot their bodies around, I would assume they can also reshape them in ways to give them guns.
This is too much.
To give them finger guns.
You're giving them two. That is such a funny joke. Oh my god, finger guns. That's actually hilarious.
Thank you. See, now this is what I mean when you give yourself over to Doctor Who, you get.
It'll
great
never
things.
happen, but I do appreciate now the finger gun joke.
But as you said earlier, Rose uses some basic gymnastic skills that she learned when she was under 7.
This whole scene though took what felt like 10 minutes.
The pacing of it is very weird. I'm not gonna say that goes away, but also it's a first episode. You're gonna have some growing room, and as far as first episodes go, especially for this kind of show, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah, it did feel very much like it did feel like you could stretch it out to like a movie. But I was never sitting here being upset about how fast or slow it was going until the climax, where everything felt like it came to an absolute screeching halt.
I honestly, looking at it, I think it was that the idea they wanted for it required a bigger budget because the climax as it was just mannequins smashing through windows and people running away.
Yes, shooting people.
Blasting their finger guns.
As far as we know, Clive is dead.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Clive died. I think they straight up shot him.
He's one of the first people that gets killed.
Yeah,
the mom, for some reason, is still alive.
Yeah, so I had to assume Clive is dead. Clive no alive.
Clive bye.
The Nestine consciousness implies that all of its planets were destroyed in a war that the Doctor fought in.
Yeah, lore?
Yeah, there's lore.
Is it lore that connects to the stuff that happened with Doctors prior to, or is it omnipresent lore that's been happening since the first Doctor?
So I don't know how much I should explain right now. I'll put it this way: the war he's referring to happened in that period in time when the show was not airing.
Okay, that answers my question.
They've decided that the reason there was no story in those 16 years is because the Doctor was doing stuff.
Okay, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
That tracks. There was a war, an intergalactic war between good and evil.
Are you trying to imply something with your... I don't know if... you can't see her face, but she's looking at me right now with a mischievous look in her eyes.
Zach, he was supposed to be the chosen one. He was supposed to destroy the Sith, not join it. I'm not saying that that's what was happening during that time, but...
Well, I mean, we'll find out I will tell you, we will find out more as the show goes on.
Zach, he was his brother.
His brother had the high ground, though.
His brother did have the high ground.
So the Doctor rescues Rose and Mickey in the TARDIS and drops them off into some random alley.
Mickey's just being kind of a wet blanket.
Yeah, he immediately is like just kind of a scared little kitten. It's like he's a big scary man in a box.
But then she also calls her mom, has her mom answer, and is like, "Don't leave the house!" And then she just kind of hangs up.
I think she just wanted to make sure her mom was okay. She didn't really care about her opinion after that.
Well, yeah, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to be fair,
I feel like in that moment, then she's already made her decision about what she's gonna do.
well, that's the interesting thing about her decision. Is at first she says no. The doctor offers to take her around, and she says
Full
no.
ride scholarship to space.
Yeah. She says no at first. Until the doctor comes back and says it also travels in time.
What does she got to do? What's her business in time?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you have any thoughts as to what that might be about?
Oh my God. Well, considering that from what we see, no father, my like storytelling narrative is like, oh, she's going to go back in time and meet her daddy. Otherwise, if she was like me, I just want to go back in time and steal a bunch of shit.
like Biff from Back to the Future?
Yeah. Give me an almanac from the future. Let me come back in time. Bet on sporting events that are super out of character for me.
Cassie's out here really casting herself as a good person doing good things, like the bad guy in Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm. The Trump allegory in Back to the Future. That's me. No, I don't know. I think just based off of her averageness, burning curiosity, it's this person who is offering her a chance at a life where she doesn't have to work to make money to survive. She can just kind of fly by the seat of her pants and live this adventurous, dangerous lifestyle with this enigmatic humanoid person.
Yeah, and you know, one nice thing about being offered this adventure also when you get offered through time is that in theory he could drop you off right after you left.
Yep. Yeah, so you're not missing much. I was just a little bit taken aback by, and it could just be because it's first episode, I'll be a little gentle, the dynamic between Rose and the Doctor feels weird. Mostly because I couldn't tell, is she supposed to be like a teenager, or is she...
If memory serves, she is 19.
Gross.
She's a 19, like, high school dropout. I believe she said in this episode that, like, the boyfriend she had in high school convinced her to drop out and she never graduated.
But, yeah, it was just... I don't know. I don't want to say it rubbed me the wrong way, but there is something just a little icky about effectively a child running away with an older man.
In a sense, yeah.
It's just a little... Yeah. Unless that it is supposed to be the dynamic of that of because she doesn't have a father that we know of, that I know of.
I mean, there's something very... How do I describe it? There is something very, like... Not paternal, but I do wonder if there's a bit of, like, I enjoy the idea of traveling with this man because he can substitute in a way for the father I do not have.
He's a step-in parent, considering the fact that dad gone, mom sucks.
Yep.
This is somebody who is interesting and cares with a question mark about me with a question mark.
Because I will say that's another thing is it didn't seem like he was particularly interested in having her around at all until she saved his life.
Yes.
So while I agree,
he discovers her usefulness, and at which point says, "Hey, hop aboard my little box ship."
So I do agree there is something very...
Fly with me through the cosmos.
There's something generally kind of uncomfortable about it, but it's also... The way it's set up specifically is less like, I'm trying to, like, scoop up this random 19 to 20-year-old.
There's no chemistry, which I feel like is kind of a good thing in this situation.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's no... Especially not now, there's no chemistry between them. It really seems more like It seems more like he brought her on because he found a respect for her. And also, you know, the Doctor's been traveling with a human companion for most of his life. The Doctor has had... that's been the whole story. Has been the Doctor and their human companion, or companions, depending on which Doctor it is. So there's a certain level of, like, I'm getting back into the swing of things with Rose.
Aw, human pet.
You know... You wouldn't be the first time someone has said that, and some people say it in the show later on.
Aw, pup.
Who's a good Rose? Who's a good Rose?
Who's a good little human companion? Yeah.
All right, so that was the first episode of the first season of the new Revive series.
Yay!
Series 1, Episode 1, Rose. Overall, any last thoughts you want to give about it, Cassie? Are you looking for...
I do like that the last words in it are just exactly.
Yeah, where he goes, thanks for what? And she says exactly, implying thanks for nothing. Like, what a shitty thing to say to your boyfriend before you gallivant off to who knows where and when.
Yeah. It was a little silly, but yeah. I am
Are you looking...
I am immediately it's daunting to look at the catalog of what is before me and recognize, like, we're going to be at this for a while.
We are going to be at this for a little while. We will save a little bit of time. Anytime there is a multi-part story, we will watch both parts at once. So we're not having to sit and do...
I will still have to visually consume a lot of it.
Yes, you will.
And so far, he is not my doctor. This one, not my doctor.
Well, you're only one episode into him, so give him a little bit of time.
No, I've already decided who my favorite doctor is.
Who is that?
I'm going to keep that to myself.
Your favorite doctor is myself. It's me.
Maybe. I can wear a bow
Dr.
tie.
Feelgood. Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Dr. Teeth. My favorite is in the Muppets.
Well, we will continue to find out if this is her doctor or if there is another doctor for her out there.
I've already told you it isn't.
Well, we will see what happens.
What would be amazing? Ooh, get in the comments. Who is my favorite doctor?
That's a good question. Anyone who's listening to this and following us on various social medias, why don't you take a quick guess, knowing what little you know about Cassie right now, who you think her favorite doctor is going to be. We will find out more about how Cassie feels about Christopher Eccleston's Ninth Doctor. We will find out if he is her doctor.
He's not.
On the next episode of Who Is My Doctor?
Who is my doctor? Who is my doctor? At the same time. 1, 2, 3. Who is my doctor?
That was weird. I don't want to do that again.
Nope.
Nope. Thank you all once again for tuning in. This is a post-pod Zach here to let you know you can follow us on Twitter, Blue Sky, or Instagram at WimDpod. That's WIMDPOD. You can find our future episode of this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Audible, Google Play, presumably everywhere you get your podcasts, if I can figure all that out. If you like the show already, please share it with your fellow Whovians, and if you can, leave us a like, a review, 5 stars, whatever the algorithm gods demand and sacrifice. Thank you again for listening, and you can hear more from us right now. While we will normally be releasing a new episode every Tuesday, for our premiere, we're dropping the first 3 episodes all at once. So we're ready when you are to come see The End of the World. That's the name of the episode. The world's not... You're smart. You probably figured that out. See you there.